Hello and welcome. I'm Nefer Kefri, and today I'm going to be answering a viewer's question. Her handle is I've kept an agenda, and she commented on a previous video about how I use a traveler's notebook for my tarot studies, wanting to know how do you get the crinkles out of your journal or planner paper if you're using watercolors. I'm here to tell you, it takes patience. And it really helps if you own a heat gun or a hair dryer. And I'm going to show you exactly how I got this page in my Hobonichi A6 Techo, fairly flat, crinkle free, and using a heat gun and not burning the paper. So stay tuned, and I'm also going to show you how I painted this little galaxy. We'll have some fun. This is a field notes little notebook here. And basically, it's meant to just act as that, just a little notebook you use to jot things down as you're going through your day, your to-do lists and all that sort of thing. This is the color Payne's Gray by the manufacturer Sennelier. And I am just adding some to the water on my palette here. And I'm going to show you how you can get the wrinkles out of your journal paper. I'm using field notes on purpose because field notes are, it's pretty inferior paper. And I would never use watercolor in it because of that. When you add water to your journal, what happens is journal paper is wood pulp. The fibers of the paper shrink, and that's how you get these little dots, which are called pilling, P-I-L-L-I-N-G, and you'll also get the paper to crinkle, wrinkle, form little dips and valleys. And so now I'm just showing you with a bunch of water. Now there are journal inserts that have much better paper than this. Traveler's Company makes a journal specific for watercolor paint. So you can find that on Amazon and other places. But what's happening here, you see this line? That's a valley. The paper has dipped down. This other line here, that's a second valley. Unless you're going for that kind of a look, typically you don't want that. Now, if you turn the paper over, you'll see how it just bleeds right on through. That's field notes paper. Your decent inserts won't do that. And this again is from the watercolor. It's on the next page. But what you can do to get these little valleys out, carefully pull on the paper. Now don't pull too hard because remember, wet paper is extremely porous. It's completely porous. You pull on it too hard, it's gonna rip. You have to be really careful. And if you notice, there's this little margin here. I should have done a before video. That wasn't there prior. The paper has shrunk. The fibers within the paper, so that's why we have this little ridge here now. So you just take the paper and you carefully pull it. And you're stretching those paper fibers back out. And just take your time with this, okay? You gotta go as far around as you can to make sure those fibers are stretched in as many directions as you can get them to stretch. And what will happen is that will remove the crinkles. Now you're going to still have a little bit of a dip because it's really bad paper for the example here, but I chose bad paper on purpose. If you look on the other side, I'm trying to angle it here so you can see. Now the valley is right here in the middle. But instead of two valleys to either side, I now have a larger valley in the center, and I've got a little ridge here and a little ridge here. So again, from the opposite side of the paper, you pull again. And remember, you've got to be careful to not rip the paper, and you need to be patient. You're just trying to get as much of that crinkle out as you can. And then that's pretty much all you can do on this type of paper. And then you see that ridge that was there, it's almost gone. The ridge between this page and the next page. That's because I've been pulling on the paper and stretching those fibers back out. And they're almost at their full size, actually. Now, when this dries, hopefully it will not be crinkled. I'm going to hit it with a heat gun now, because who has all day to watch paint dry, right? And then we'll see. I'm going to put this on mute for a second so you don't hear the noise of my heat gun. Now, as I'm drying the paper, you'll notice I am moving my heat gun. I'm rotating it, moving it side to side. This is so it doesn't burn the paper. Your paper can burn, and unless you're going for that look, you don't want it to happen. So be constantly moving your heat gun around. If you use a heat gun or even a blow dryer will work as well. Just be careful to not burn the paper, and you dry from both sides of the paper. Okay, I've hit it with the heat gun on both sides. It's important to hit the paper on both sides, and then you go in and you pull on it again, because we're getting that ridge again. See, that's a huge crinkle there. And that's because the heat gun has caused the fibers within the paper to shrink up again, just like the water did. So again, you just carefully pull on it. Be careful not to rip it, and be patient. And then you do the same on the opposite side. You take a look at it first and try to ascertain where the dips and the valleys are, where the ridges are. And just again, carefully pull. And now we're going to hit it with the heat gun again because it's still pretty wet. Okay, it's dry. Completely dry. But as you can see from this little ridge here, that paper has shrunk up again. Okay, now that it's dry, you pull on it again. And now this time you don't have to be so precious because the paper is dry. Chances are it's not going to rip. And again, you just carefully pull it out. You're trying to get that crinkle out. Sometimes it helps to go to the opposite page and press it down with a finger or your hand. Just get it to flatten some more. It's still warm, a little bit warm from the heat gun. So this is the time when you want to do this, when the paper is warm and the fibers within the paper will react to the weight of your hand or your fingers pushing down on it to get it to straighten out. The side you've painted on, you may not want to do that because that may mess with your design. So it's up to you on whether you want to rub on your paint or not. I do that, but I ascertain that it is 100% dry. If it is at all damp and you go to rub into it, you're going to ruin your painting. All right, now let's check it out close up here. And you can see I've managed to pull it enough to where you don't see much of a ridge. Before we could see a column of dots from the previous page. Now you can't really see them. They're still at very slight size differentiation that wasn't there before, but again, that's going to happen. And you just pull on it again a little bit. But look at it now. No valleys, no mountains. It will still feel slightly crinkled, but it's not really going to look crinkled, you know, and that's the main thing. You don't want it to look all crinkled and ruin your painting. Now, for some papers, it will bleed to the other side. Be prepared for that, you know. Never use watercolor on the opposite side of something on which you've done a drawing or you've got some stickers on there. You're going to have to kind of decide ahead of time which pages in your insert you want to add watercolor to. Because otherwise, if I had had stickers here, they would have come right off. Washi tape would have popped right off. You know, fountain pen ink would have smeared. Other paint, other watercolor would be ruined. So you got to be sure on whatever page you're going to be painting on that the other side is free of any decor. And then afterwards, you can go ahead and put a sticker here to cover this up if you want. You know, that's clear that, you know, or some torn paper, you know, for a decorative, you know, junk journal look to it if you want, whatever. But actually, for a Fields note, this turned out really good. I'm surprised because that's why I don't like field notes. There's no way I can use watercolor in these, and I still wouldn't, just because, you know, it bleeds to the other side. It bleeds to the next page. I don't know if it continued on or if it stopped. Let's see, a little bit. Oh, what's that? Oh, chocolate. Yeah. Alrighty, so this is how you flatten the paper out in your insert when using watercolor paper. I'll show one more example with Tomoe River paper, which is excellent for fountain pens. It is excellent for journaling. It's my favorite paper. That one you do actually, not that you want it to crinkle, but typically that is the look that you get with Tomoe River paper. It does crinkle up quite a bit, typically, and I will use it and show you how to get most of that crinkle out. That is a 52 GSM paper, very, very thin. If you've never used it, it is an acquired taste, that paper. But I really love it. It's my favorite journaling paper. I journal daily in a Hobonichi Cousin, so it's just fantastic. Like I said, it's the best paper for fountain pens I've run across. So let's get that out and do that right quick, and I'll be back in a second. This is an A6 size Hobonichi journal cover fountain pen. This is the Hobonichi Techo for 2026 with an April start. Their planners start in January or April. You can take your pick. And whenever I'm going to do anything artistic at all in this, I pull it out. Wow, why is it not wanting to come out? Oh, because of the ribbon. I'm about to rip the ribbon out of here. Alrighty. Now it'll come out. There we go. Now get this out of the way because I do not want to ruin this. These are not cheap. Okay. I'm using this kind of like a little doodle / oracle reading journal. So like I've got some pens here that I doodled with to test them out, and some new inks. And I'm just going to choose a page. Let's go back to April. And see, there's another drawing I did real quick. Little sketch with my fountain pen here. Okay, I'm going to turn this sideways. Now, I like painting galaxies. So I'm going to get some light blue, and this is cobalt violet light. Again, these are Sennelier colors. This is phthalo green light, dioxine purple, and some Payne's gray that I used previously. This is the Payne's gray. And so, okay, that looked like it had water in it already. I'm just going to go ahead and add my colors here. Now for a galaxy painting, the water is going to be all over the page. And that'll be a great example of then how you pull on it, and got to be precious with it in order to get the crinkles out. You'll see the crinkles show up as I paint, and then they'll gradually disappear as I slightly pull on the paper. The strange thing about Tomo River paper is although it is whisper thin 52 GSM, it can take watercolor really, really well. And I don't know what kind of magic that is, but I like it. Galaxies are my favorite thing to paint. I'm just going to go ahead and slap on the water. Again, with Tomo River paper, you can get away with this. You can see from the glare, there's a lot of paper on here. You can also see it's starting to crinkle. That's perfectly fine. Then you add your colors. I usually, for a galaxy, will go dark in the corners, lighter toward the center, and then I tend to paint a nebula in here somewhere. So I'm just putting all my Payne's gray. Darken up those edges. I'm going to add a little bit of dioxazine purple, which is gorgeous. This is my favorite shade of purple. Purple's my favorite color. If you've seen my talking head videos, you'll know I put purple color in my hair. Now here we go. I'm just, smacking it on the paper. No definite rhyme or reason. I'm going to go in with the lighter shade of blue and just kind of tap it in there. Again, no real plan or anything. And you can see how I've got a little river here. And that's because I added a lot of water to the paper because I wanted you to see it at its worst. This is Tomo River paper at its worst. You've got little drivets here where the water and the pigment have pooled and collected. There's a little pond over here, more drivets. Perfectly fine, no need to panic. Now I'm going to go in the center here. I'm going to get some more of the blue. And now I'm going to get this pretty violet. And that's going to be the nebula. And you'll see how it's blending with the other colors. I apologize if I don't get all the throat clearing edited out of my video. I am so froggy today. Just allergy issues. Then I go over it with some more color because I want that nebula to be just a little bit darker. And now it's important to remember there should not be any writing on the other side of the paper because it will, if you're using fountain pen ink, it'll smear like anything. I found that out the hard way. So you take it, and again, you just give it a real gentle pull. Now you see that water? It's just sitting on the paper. You can get it to move if you want. It's up to you because if you hit it with your heat gun or your hair dryer right now, it's going to dry really dark right through here. Oh, I just put my journal in the wet paint. Ooh, lucky I didn't get any on it. Ooh, okay. And I'm just kind of manipulating the water right now. I'm not pulling on the paper at all. I'm just getting the water to move the color pretty much where I want it. It is now where I want it. I'm going to hit it with my heat gun and hope for the best. Okay, you notice I'm moving the heat gun around as I dry because you don't want to burn the paper, especially Tomo River paper, which will burn fairly easily. And then I'm just lifting it, holding a finger down along the spine to act as a counterweight so I don't rip the paper. I've kind of lost that pretty violet, pinkish violet, but that's okay. I can fix that in a minute by adding more paint. You see how badly crinkled it was with all the rivets and everything? Now look at it. Just with some gentle, careful pulling, and you're stretching those paper fibers back out. And that again is how you flatten your journal paper, insert paper, it doesn't matter. Just be careful not to pull too hard. Okay, I'm not done with this yet. I'm going to go in with some more color to deepen the nebula here with the pink, the violet. And then I'll hit it with my heat gun again. I'll probably use some more blue on this too, just so I don't leave the paint sitting on the palette. It will blend with the previous layers, but in a galaxy, that's perfectly fine. That will add depth to your painting. Make it look more realistic. Okay, I'm not going to use that green at all. Just rinsing up my brush here. And now, with it being wet, as you can see, let me hold it up so you can see the glare from the water, from the wet paint on here. Watercolors will always dry lighter than they look when they're wet. That's why I added more of the violet pinkish color into it, because I wanted that nebula to kind of show up better. And the great thing about Tomo River paper is it allows you to see all the previous layers, and so it's going to give this galaxy a little bit of depth. And if I had taken my time with it, I usually add 4 to 6 layers of paint on a galaxy painting. I'm not going to do that today because this is just an example, but you get the idea. You just dry it, add more color, dry it, add more color, and get it to look at the depth that you would like. Now I'm just going to blow dry it again, and then as I do that, you see I've been kind of gently pulling on it, just like I did with the field notes. And it's not nearly as crinkled as it was at the start. So here we go with more dry time. And now with the paper still warm, you pull on it again from a couple of corners, and I'm pulling across and opposite. So I'm pulling down away from the spine, and I'm pulling off to the left and off to the right. And then I just pull to the top and the bottom of the page, pulling in opposite directions. And there we go. It's not nearly as crinkled. There's a little wet spot there. And then making sure your paint is 100% dry before you do this. You can take your hands, flatten it further. Again, this is why it's important. There is no writing or stickers or washi tape on the opposite side, because it will pop off the paper. Your fountain pen ink, even ballpoint ink, can smear. And then from the opposite side, you pull on it a little bit as well. I mean, again, you just use the heat, the residual heat from your heat gun or your blow dryer, and press those crinkles out. Personally, I like the crinkles. I tend to leave them in there. I think they add a lot of character to your painting. And there we go. And then it's ready for some stars. This is a white gel pen. It's by Boo Tiger, or however that's pronounced. If you need a good gel pen, look for these on Amazon. They are so cheap, and I think it comes 6 to a box, or maybe it's 8. I can't remember. And you get 3 different sizes. Comes in a 1.0, a 0.8 millimeter, and a 6. But then here we go, adding little stars. But you get the idea. But there you go. That is how you get crinkles out of your paper in your journal inserts, in your planners, journals, what have you. It's really simple. The main key is to be patient, and if you use a heat gun, to be constantly moving it on the page so you're not burning your paper. And that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial. And I sincerely think I've kept an agenda. And if you have a question, drop it below. This is Jennifer Keffery, and I'm wishing you all a very blessed day ahead.